Hello lovely people and welcome back to my channel. Yesterday I cooked up a little challenge for myself that I would like to film, so we're going to kind of go on this adventure together of discovering neutral cool makeup. The thing is, some of you may already know this, neutral cools are like my least favorite thing about makeup. I don't buy them, I don't use the ones that I have, and I've just convinced myself in my mind that I don't look good in neutral cool colors without really having much proof for it, other than the few times that I've put it on, thought, oh, this looks like crap, let me take it off. Now let me tell you, this challenge is going to come with two very simple rules, or maybe only just one very simple rule. I'm not allowed any pops of color, because that is normally how I go about solving the problem that I don't like myself in neutral cools. I pair them with pops of color. So I'm not allowed pops of color on my eyes. There will be no pops of green, blue or purple. There will be no bright red lipsticks such as red or pink, which is normally the other way that I wear neutral cool, with just a bright pop of lips, not allowing myself that either. So we're really going to stick to neutral. So there's going to be a lot of browns, grays, grayish, silvers, just a whole lot of neutral everywhere on my face. And in the end of this challenge, in the end of this week, I'm going to decide for myself whether I really agree with myself on whether neutral look colors really look good or bad. And I'm very curious what your opinion is, because sometimes you see things a little bit differently than I do. I think I'm maybe a bit subjective and a bit too overly critical with myself, and you guys tend to be a little bit more mild and much more, you know, objective, because you see things from a certain perspective that I can never really see. You see things from the outside. So I'm very curious what your take on this is going to be. I do sound a bit nasal, I apologize for that, I'm really congested. Anyway, without further ado, I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave you with the different looks that I'm going to create this week, and in the end of the video we're going to see each other again for me to give you my final verdict. Day 1, cool neutrals. I'm really excited. So, I'm going to dip into 3 different palettes in order to do this look, and the first one I'm going to go into is my Urban Decay and Gwen Stefani eyeshadow palette, which I'm so happy to use again because I always forget about this palette. It's in another drawer than most of my other eyeshadow palettes, and I just always forget it. So what I want to do today is dip into the neutral cool, so I'm definitely going to use this shade here and this shade here. So these are going to be like the matte shades that I put through my crease and outer corner, and I'm really excited how this look is going to turn out. Dipping into the cool neutral transition shade and going to start working that into my crease. Now going in with a smaller brush, I am going to take the deep like gray brown shade and start working that through my outer corner and crease. Taking more of a pencil type of brush because I want to be able to concentrate the color a bit more. The next palette I want to go into is the Juvia's Place Magic palette, and the 2 shades that I want to go into are these 2 over here. This sort of like grey, taupe, lilac, I don't know how to describe it. It's definitely a very cool tone shade, and this one here, which I think would be very nice as an inner corner highlight to complement this look. And I'm just going to take this shade on a little brush like this and start applying it onto my lids. I'm not even going to bother with glitter glue for now, and I'll tell you why later. Going to just intensify this shade a little bit by applying it with my fingers. There's a bit of like those light bluish tones to it. Now I'm going to apply a layer of the Cool Toned Lid shade spritzed with Fix Plus. Now the next palette I'm going to go into is the Moondust palette from Urban Decay, because I would like to add a bit of sparkle. I'm going to take this shade over here, which is like a smoky, taupey, grey silver with a lot of sparkles to it, onto my brush here, the same one on which I had the shade from Juvia's Place, and then I'm going to spritz, and I just spritzed my camera, that's great. And I'm going to pop this shade right here onto the very center of the lid. I'm going to take this Kiko eyeshadow stick in the number 33. It is perfect to finish off this look because it is exactly the kind of cool toned shadow that I'm looking for. It is a bit of like a grey purple, and I'm going to apply that into my waterline. So there you guys have it. Cool toned look number 1 using a bunch of palettes that I'm really happy that I got to use today. This was really like a real throwback. I think this whole video is going to be a bit of a throwback because most of my cool toned eyeshadows I really have to dig through my collection to find because I don't have that many. Just FYI, the lipstick that I'm wearing is my Natasha Denona lipstick in I Need Nude in the shade Noah. Overall, I really like how the look turned out. It turned out really cool toned, really sultry. I do actually think it looks good on me, and I'm curious what you guys think. Welcome to day 2 of the Neutral Cool Week. The reason that you're going to see me with shorter hair in day 2 versus day 1 and day 3 and 4 is because apparently I hadn't really filmed most of my footage for my day 2 cool neutral look, so I'm just coming back later to refilm it. Not that it matters to you, but just in case you were wondering why is your hair shorter in day 2 and then longer again on day 3, that's the explanation. For this look, I'm actually going to pull out some real throwbacks. One of them is a real throwback, the other one maybe not so much. The first one is the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette, which has somewhat cooler tones to it. Not somewhat, but like pretty cool tones to it. And the second one is this eyeshadow from Hourglass. It's from their Scattered Light collection, and this one is in the shade Smoke, which is a really beautiful smoky taupe with a lot of glitters in it. So let's recreate this look because it was actually one of my favorites that I did so far. I'm going to grab a fluffy blending brush and I'm going to go into the shade Mocha over here, which is a beautiful cool toned matte transition shade. And I'm going to apply that all over my crease and drag it above the, well, not drag it, but you know, blend it up above the crease. Starting here in the outer corner and then slowly building it up towards my brow bone arch. I'm eternally pleased with how beautifully Too Faced eyeshadows blend out. For all the shit we give Too Faced for all the gimmicky products that they release, I have to say they make some pretty good quality stuff. To deepen the crease, I'm going to dip into this shade over here, which is a neutral toned deeper brown shade. Then on my lid I'm going to apply this shade here, which is definitely one of like the cool tone stars of this look. It is a really beautiful shade. It's called Café au lait and it's a metallic and it has these like really smoky gray or almost purple in some light undertones to it. Yet again, this builds and blends so nicely and so easily. I forgive you for all your folly, Jared, because you tend to make some really good makeup, man. For now I'm just going to use my finger to dip into the metallic shade and I'm going to apply that all over the lid. And actually in my inner corners as well as an inner corner highlight. Taking my Firini Pixie Epoxy, I'm going to take Smoke from Hourglass and again I'm just going to use my fingers and apply this right here, more towards the center portion of the lid. I want a wing liner and I want it to be a brown color, and because I don't really have a liquid liner which is brown, I actually don't really have a liquid liner at this point because the last one that I had dried out. Besides the point, but I'm trying to use up my gel liners at the moment, and the one that I'm going to use now is not technically a gel liner, but it is my Deep Brow from Anastasia Beverly Hills, which I have used on multiple occasions also just as a liner. Mine is pretty beat up because I've had it for very many years, and clearly it's also quite dry, so we cannot use it like that, which is why I'm going to take a drop of Inglot Duraline. Whoa, and before my drop gets wasted, let me just put it into the brow. Just like this. On my lower lash line, I'm first going to smoke out this shade here, which is like a very like smoky brown gray sort of shade. It's a matte, it's a very light matte, so I'm just going to use it to like lightly blend out on the lower lash line. As a final touch on my waterline, I'm going to pop up this Kiko eyeshadow stick in the shade 38, which is also a very nice cool toned taupe brown shade. Looks like this. The lipstick that I chose to pair with this look is the H&M cream lipstick in the shade Brunette Ambition. Brunette Ambition is not exactly a cool toned lipstick, like not a super cool toned lipstick. I feel like it's just a very beautiful neutral lipstick that gives like a hint of warmth to the eye look, and it just ties everything very well together. Okay, you guys, day 3 of the Neutral Cool Diaries. Today we're going to be dipping in the Divine Rose palette from Pat McGrath, and the makeup that we're going to do today is going to focus a bit more on the cool tone shades. So I'm definitely going to put this shade on my lid, I'm going to use this shade through my crease, I'm going to put these two in the center of my lid. So I'm going to start off the look with this very cool toned mauvey lavender pink shade, which is called Velouria, if I'm not mistaken. Actually a really beautiful shade. I was quite surprised at how much I really like this shade. I'm going to start building that up here into my crease. It is very cool toned, but at the same time it has such beautiful tones to it that I don't feel like it looks horrible on me, and the texture of this is so nice. Next, taking my flat shader brush from M-Brush, and I'm going to dip into this shade here. This is Lovelace. This is a very interesting shade. It is like a lavender, purple, mauve taupe. I don't really know how else to describe it. It is a very unique shade. I absolutely have nothing quite like it. It is one of the shades that attracted me the most in this palette. I'm going to start building that onto my lids. Depending on your preferences, very likely you don't even have to wet this shade, but I prefer to wet it because I think it looks even more impactful when it's wet. So I'm going to just take some product on my brush, spritz that with Fix Plus, and just swipe across them lids. So what I'm going to do now is something that a trick that I kind of invented last week for myself, because this shade here, the Astral Solstice shade, it has a very like white pink, not pink, it's more like a white base to it, and it's quite basic in that aspect, and I prefer to give it a bit more of like pinkish hues for this look because I think it looks much more beautiful that way. So what I've been doing recently is mixing these two shades. So this one here has a beautiful like pinkish sheen to it, and if you layer that over top of this shade, you actually give it a bit of these like pinkish hues. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to press Astral Solstice onto the center of my lids, and then over top of that I'm going to like sort of like swipe and press this duochrome topper shade here. So taking Astral Solstice and just pressing it onto the center of the lid. I am going to apply a bit of that pink topper shade over top. So once again, like lightly like swiping and pressing over top of Solstice. On my inner corner I am going to apply this shade here, the Skin Show Divine whatever shade, just the basic bitch highlighting shade. I'm also going to take this shade, the duochrome topper pink shade, and because I'm feeling a bit extra, I'm going to swipe the tiniest bit of that here underneath my brow bone as like a very interesting effect. For my lower lash line, I'm going to actually just dip back into Velouria, the beautiful matte shade, and just apply a bit of that smoked out on the lower lashes. And on my waterline, I'm going to apply this Kiko eyeshadow stick in the number 33, which I think I showed you in one of the previous looks. It's like this grey purple shade, also very cool toned. And here you have the final look with the Divine Rose palette. I feel like the lips definitely didn't turn out as cool toned as I was hoping for, because at first I applied this lipstick from Urban Decay, which is Hideaway, Hide Away, sorry. And Hide Away is indeed quite cool toned. I just really wanted to stick with a very monochromatic, like mauvey cool toned look. And I think Hide Away fit perfectly into that bill. However, after that I decided that because my lips have been a little bit dry, I've been a little bit sick the past week, I wanted to do lip gloss over top of that. And I did put a bit of Heavy Petal from Pat McGrath, and Heavy Petal, as you can see, clearly has very warm undertones to it, so that did kind of give a bit more warmth to the lips and break my cool tone vibe that I had going on. But yeah, I'm not too mad about it. I think in the long run, for the rest of the day, I'll feel more comfortable wearing a lip gloss. I am in the mood for really simple today, and I'm going to bust out my Darkroom palette from Stilazzi in collaboration with Jordan Liberty, which is everything you can ever need in an eyeshadow palette. It is just so beautiful and so complete and so well curated. But today I want to do something really simple featuring this shade here, Moonwalk, because I feel like this is such an excellent shade to represent like cool taupey, mauvey, brown, pink sort of shades. So I'm going to do something with this shade. I'm going to pop this all over my lid, and I'm actually going to start my look a little bit differently today, just because I think it might be easier to do it that way. Maybe I'm just deluding myself, but we'll see. Anyway, so I'm going to dip into that shade just using my fingers and apply it all over my lids, just dry as it is. Nothing else. And I'm going to pop this all over the lid. We are going to blend it out later, but for now I'm just applying it sheerly all over the lid. To blend out my crease, I'm going to take this shade, and if it turns out this shade is too light, I'm going to dip back and forth between these two to blend out that taupey shade I put on the lid. So first I'm going to tap into the pink shade and just see whether I can use only this shade to blend the color out. And it seems like I could, but I want just a bit more depth, so I'm going to dip a little bit into the mauve shade as well, just back and forth between the two, and I'm going to blend out that. And I'm just going to start blending up towards my brow bone. I'm going to take my little flat shader brush here and pack that on with the lid shade and spritz my brush with Fix Plus so that I can apply this shade a bit more impactful. Now, I always struggle a little bit with the Stilazzi palette in the sense that there is really no shade in here that is a good inner corner highlight, especially if you're going to do something really neutral. So I'm actually going to take out the next eyeshadow palette that we're going to be dipping into, and that is the Moondust eyeshadow palette from Urban Decay. Now, before I dip into Moondust, I am going to apply a little bit of glitter glue both on my inner corners and the tiniest bit on my lid, because I do prefer these shades over a glitter glue. I just think they look more impactful. So I'm going to take a little bit on the back of my hand, apply it into my inner corners, and then just slightly dab more towards the center of the lid, actually, like right here. What I'm going to do next is I am going to pop this shade here, the Pinky Duochrome, as my highlighter shade, and over top of that I'm going to put this shade here, which is called Lithium. Lithium is a very interesting shade. It's definitely a cool tone shade, and I feel like it would add just a bit of sparkle and a bit of like an interesting undertone to that Moonwalk shade. So let's just go ahead and do that. First popping up that Pink Duochrome into my inner corners, and then using my fingers I'm gonna go into Lithium and just slightly dab that over the center of the lids. Next up, I actually want to use one of the eyeshadows in the palette. I want to use this super dark brown shade over here to sort of push it into my lashes as an eyeliner, but more like a smoky liner without really winging it out too much. So I'm going to push that dark brown shade, especially towards more like the outer side of the eye, because I have very round eyes and I don't want to pile too much on the inner part, because that really makes my eyes look even more round. And just try to take it out very, very lightly into the outer corner. I'm actually going to keep it very simple on the lower lash line. I'm going to take this Kiko eyeshadow stick in the number 25, which sort of has those taupey undertones again. I'm going to pop that on my waterline and a little bit on my lower lash line, and over top of that I'm just going to apply the shade that we have on the lid from the Stilazzi palette, so this one. This is definitely not my favorite look that I have done so far, but it is a little bit different from the rest of the things I did, and I do like that I got to use my Stilazzi palette, because I don't really actually use this palette very often. It just kind of gets forgotten in my drawers, and I just want to switch it up in terms of the colors, in terms of the technique. I don't want to show you the same thing over and over again, so I do try to experiment a little bit. On my lips I'm also wearing a sort of like pinky nude that plays up a bit with the pink hues in that shade we laid down from the Stilazzi palette. The lipstick that I chose is Modesty by MAC. It is in their cream sheen formula. This is one of my favorite nude lipsticks ever. And let's finally finish off this challenge. It's been a while since I filmed the last video, just because I was actually waiting for the last product that I really wanted to feature this video. This is a Black Friday purchase, and for some reason it took a very long time to get to me, and the item that I'm talking about is the Pat McGrath eyeshadow in the shade Divine Mink. Divine Mink is this absolutely beautiful smoky taupe brown shade. I can honestly say I have absolutely nothing like this shade in my collection, because I did go through my collection and think, oh, maybe this looks like Divine Mink or this looks like Divine Mink. No, nothing in my collection comes even close to Divine Mink. But this shade is really pretty. I saw Julie Adams use this on her channel, Julie Adams MUA. I'm going to link her channel in the description box below for you to check it out. I'm actually going to leave the video where I saw her use this eyeshadow. I'm going to try to remember to do that, because it was also something in the lines of doing a cool toned makeup look. This is how I got inspired to even like start trying to use cool tones on my eyes. Also, just in case you didn't know that, Divine Mink comes from the Decadence palette. It does now clearly come as a single in her Idols. I'm going to pair Divine Mink with my Midnight Sun palette. I think especially that cool toned brown shade over here is going to pair really well with it. I want to put a bit of Astral Solstice over top of it, because Divine Mink is gorgeous, but it's like metallic shade. It doesn't have any actual glitter and sparkle to it, and I think because this is a very cool toned topper shade, it will look really beautiful with Divine Mink. But since I'm too lazy to hold up the palette every time, I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take this shade as my transition. I'm going to deepen up with this deep cool toned brown here. Then I'm going to apply this one on my lid. In the center I'm going to pop on Divine Mink, and over top of Divine Mink, potentially I'm going to put some of this Astral Solstice shade. So let's get started. Going to pop on a little bit of glitter glue. Not that this eyeshadow really needs it, but I just, you know, I'm a creature of habit. Going to pop that right here onto the center of the lid. As you can see, I left the center lid space bare, because that's where I want to put Divine Mink. You guys saw halfway through the process that I changed my mind and I decided to cover up most of my lid with Divine Mink. So I did cover up what I had put down from this shade with Divine Mink, because I figured they kind of clash, they don't really look so great together. Anyway, so now I'm going to use this shade into my inner corners. Divine Mink is really gorgeous. I hope it's coming across on camera as well. It's really pretty. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to pop on a little bit of that Astral Solstice shade, just over top for a bit of sparkle. Going to lightly dab my finger like this. I'm not going to do anything too crazy on my lower lash line, because I actually just want to pop on Divine Mink again there. I'm going to take a little bit of this shade onto my waterline, and then apply a little bit of Divine Mink on my lower lashes. As I was finishing the rest of my makeup, you guys, a little glitter liner detail decided to sneak upon us, because I just saw it in my drawer and I was like, oh fuck, it would pair so beautifully with this look. This is the Urban Decay Heavy Metal glitter liner in the shade Spandex, which has the most beautiful dark blue glitter in it, and for some reason I feel convinced that Divine Mink pairs beautifully with blue glitter. So I added just like the tiniest little second wing here over top of the black. It's quite inconspicuous, but I feel like it just elevates the look to a whole new level of awesome. I really love how this look turned out, you guys, and I am super in love with the shade Divine Mink. It is so beautiful. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun using this eyeshadow in the future. Now, let me just quickly tell you what I'm wearing also on my lips so that we can wrap up this video, because I think it's already way too long as it is. I applied the shade Latte from Anastasia Beverly Hills as sort of like a base color. It is a beautiful, like, taupe brown sort of lipstick. It's in a matte formula, which is why I always want to put something over top of it to make it a bit more creamy. And in this shade I chose for the Pat McGrath lip gloss in the shade Ellie Angelic, which has beautiful pink reflects to it. Anyway, to wrap up this video, I just wanted to tell you that I actually truly enjoyed creating like cool neutral looks in which I was not allowed to use any color on my eyes or on my lips, because normally I would be doing these sort of like neutral cool looks not in the service of the eye look itself, but more in the service of whatever bright things surrounding it I wanted to use, either a bright lip or like a bright pop of a lower lash line or you know, some sort of a colorful detail. It was never in the service of showcasing the actual neutral cool eye makeup. It was more like, oh, let me pick like an innocent bystander that can go with the rest of the things I actually want to showcase. So I'm truly happy that I decided to do just something that's eyes and lips neutral cool both, in order to discover a whole new like look in makeup that I can wear. Overall, I think I've definitely changed my mind about neutral cools. I no longer think that they don't flatter me. I just think that they need to be paired the right way. I need to be in the right mood. I need to be wearing the right clothing. I definitely feel like there's something I would enjoy more wearing during the winter. But that being said, I think generally speaking, these kind of looks make you look a bit more chic, a bit more elegant, a bit more elevated, you know, classy as fuck. I know a lot of you don't really struggle with cool tones as much as I do, but I still hope you enjoyed this little video. Let me know in the comment section below what is something that you struggle with and you would have to challenge yourself with in order to appreciate it more. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. As usual, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more of my content in the future, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope we get the chance to hang out again soon. Bye!